this film, and when I watched it, I absolutely loved it. So any woman who has ever had a medical issue and was not heard or listened to or believed, this film is for you. Anyone who had a partner who shamed them for any reason, didn't believe them, didn't respect them, this movie is for you. So I'm really grateful to have this here. And I want to tell you a little bit. We have, I think you guys all know we have food, and drinks. We're going to watch the film, and then we have an amazing panel. So please stay. We'll take a little bit of a break. We'll take a panel so then we can talk a little bit about what we saw. And I want to tell you just a little bit about the venue. We're originally a silent movie theater, and we're babies, so we're only about 3 years old. And we just won Philly's best intimate venue, so we're really proud of that. We have a venue, Access Matters, that is here, so please visit their table during the break. We're really grateful to have them. And I want to introduce Hi,
thank you guys. Thank you everyone for coming. Thank you, Rashana, the Falzer Club, of course Al, who I met because he asked a question at the Q&A that we had at the Women's Film Festival and we chatted after. So thank you for making that connection and setting this up. This has been 9 years in the making. And I'm just so excited to finally be here in hometown, finally showing it near where I grew up. And there's so many people here that haven't seen it. So just thank you to everyone. It took a village to make this film, and we're just so excited to be able to finally share it with everyone. And also make sure to stick around for the panel. If you got a friendship bracelet on the way in, hold on to it. You could be a winner, so hold on to that.
First of all, I want to thank the Falzer Club. As many of you, maybe this is the first time you've been in here. This was originally a silent film venue back when it was built and operated as such from 1914 to 1929. Through a bunch of change of hands, it ended up the Falzer Club, which was opened in 2022. So this is a nonprofit music and arts venue and considered an inclusive gathering space. I especially want to thank Ashana, who's the executive director. She's the mastermind. She's the mastermind behind events like we have today. So just to introduce myself, my name is Jess Clemens. I'm an OB/GYN physician who's been in practice in the Philly and Monroe area for about 20 years. I'm what you call a full scope OB/GYN, which means I deliver the babies, I do the surgery, I see patients in the office. I'm a menopause certified specialist. I'm a member of ISWISH, which you'll hear about during this event. And I'm also a co-founder of the Physicians for Healthy Pennsylvania, which is a group of physicians in Philadelphia who are activists and trying to maintain access to reproductive health care and affordable care for women. As we go around, thanks. Not me, but as we go around, I was going to suggest that each of us give also a fun fact that's not necessarily professionally related. I also am the programming chair and board member of Eaglesmere Friends of the Arts, which means I book all the bands and up at our mountain house. And also a couple years ago ran a big fundraiser here called Physicians and Musicians for Reproductive Freedom. Oh. And I'm pretty sure that Ashana and Felicity asked me to do this because I have no problem saying vagina and vulva all day long. Because I do, because that's what I do. So I wanted to start with a quote, and this relates to why we're here, and I think you'll find it pertinent. The lifetime prevalence of vulvodynia is estimated at 12 to 16% of women, but less than half seek treatment. Many women are incorrectly diagnosed with other conditions, or never even mention to anyone that they have pain, because they have falsely been led to believe that sexual activity is meant to be painful, either by society, uncaring or uneducated partners, or uneducated medical professionals. Many women have also been brushed off by medical professionals and inexcusably told to just have a glass of wine, or that their pain is all in their head. And that's a quote by an OB/GYN physician, Dr. Jen Gunter. She recently wrote this in an article called Vulvodynia Isn't a Mystery, It's Underfunded. All right, so let's talk about our panelists. All right, so right next to me I have Bonnie Gross. As you all just observed, she is a comedic writer and producer, and by life experience is an expert in vulvodynia. Lady Parts is her autobiographical comedy inspired by her own experience navigating the vulva-vaginal healthcare world. And she's going to tell us something else about her.
I know, my fun fact's always that I wrote a film about my vagina, and I can't do that. I actually have been to 26 countries and 40 states, and I love travel. And I recently went shark cage diving. That's a fun fact.
Wow.
Thank you. I love fun facts. All right. You are almost in order. All right. Dr. Timberly Schmidt is a sexologist, an educator, freelance writer. She's a consultant in human sexuality, and in fact, she holds a PhD in human sexuality. And what else?
Other fun facts, I am also a burlesque performer, and this necklace contains the last IUD that I had. So this is the second time that I've had an IUD turned into a necklace. So yeah, so just keep my friends close.
Fantastic. And just, a lot of us OB/GYNs wear them on our ID tags, so we just show people what they look like. Cool. All right. Dr. Susan Kellogg-Spate is a nurse practitioner who also holds a doctorate degree. She's a certified sex counselor and a vulvoscopist, which most certainly sounds like a superpower, and I'm pretty sure it is. She's also a fellow of the International Society for the Study of Women's Sexual Health, ISHWISH, as we like to say. And also, I just sent you a really complex patient today. Your turn.
Fun fact. Well, I've been a vulvologist and a sexologist pretty much my whole career, and I have two grown children, but when they were little, it was such a surprise to me that my son thought that his mom had the coolest job ever, as did all his friends. And my daughter was, to my surprise, just really embarrassed. So one day, when I dropped her off at school, at a Catholic school, which is, the nuns would come out to pick them up and from my car, and I had done a late night. We had our own little thing like Letterman here in Philly, and it was very racy. It was late nights in Philly, and I had done a special the night before at midnight, a live special on masturbation, and a female masturbation, which is my language, our language, right? And the nun came out to the car and took Shannon out of the car, and she goes, "Oh, Mrs. Kellogg-Spate saw you on the telly last night." All I could think about was, why weren't you asleep? Why weren't you asleep? Fun fact.
Thank you. And last but not least, we have Dr. Michelle Friedman. She holds a doctorate in physical therapy. She's a public physical therapist, and she owns Atlantic Physical Therapy in South Philly. And what shall we learn about you?
One time I was on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
Wow.
That's my fun fact. I tried out in Philly and know a lot about pop culture, and I made it on the show, and yeah, I did all right. So, I'm not a millionaire from it. Spoiler alert.
That's pretty awesome.
Hit me up if you want the video.
Think about the film a little bit, which I'm sure is, a few different scenes have stuck with you. One scene that I would say stuck with me was when Dr. Silverstein, which is Paige's doctor, says very quickly that her diagnosis is vulvar vestibulectomy syndrome.
Yes.
And as an OB/GYN physician, and even I might have paused the film and rewinded to be sure I knew exactly what he said. I think that what I really appreciate that right after that, he pulled out a diagram with a highlighted area that mapped out exactly where her vulvar vestibule was, and gave a great description that it's a foyer leading into a dining room. So maybe I might say to one of my patients that the vestibule is the area that is the opening of the vagina. But my patients often don't know the basic sort of definition or locations of even stuff like where exactly defines their vulva, their labia minora, labia majora. And certainly no one knows what vulvar vestibulitis is unless they're practicing in the field or they themselves carry the diagnosis. So Susan, you're up first. So how can we as clinicians and educators find a happy medium between using a broad, non-specific term like lady parts, but not saying vulvar, vestibule? How do you handle this conundrum in the office?
In the office, I have a vulva puppet. I have several vulva puppets, actually. And that pretty much breaks the ice right away. When you bring out a puppet, that's a vulva. And I ask the patients to show me on the puppet where it hurts. And they can, right away. There's no confusion at all. And so, you know, a picture's worth 1,000 words. Well, pointing to a puppet, they can say that's where it hurts. And I can say, well, all right, let me show you what we call all this stuff, you know, and they usually know majora, minora, et cetera, but the vestibule, very curiously, is an area that most, even in training, not necessarily were we told what the vestibule was. And so if the vestibule is inflamed and they know itis is like tonsillitis, inflammation of, they can put vulvar vestibulitis pretty quickly together. And so that's how I bridge that gap.
Thank you. Timmery, I have a question for you. All right. Well, actually, it's kind of a double question. First one, how could clinicians do better, and how could society do better as a whole with this topic?
Ooh, very easy to answer question. That was a joke. Okay, so I often work with medical students. I will do LGBT competency training. I will do like little bits on things like birth control and transgender medicine, and I will be there for a few hours. And in many cases, that is the sex education training they get until they get into actual practice and then like they're doing residency and things like that, unless they happen to be doing this work on their own, if they are particularly motivated to volunteer at a clinic that specializes in some sort of sexual issue. So one of the things we still need to be working on is training the medical community just around being comfortable talking about sexuality. It is definitely improved. It is so vastly improved from even just like 10 years ago, the way that medical practitioners who are not sexual specialists are talking about these things. But we need to make it comfortable for these professionals so they can make it comfortable for their patients. Because if they haven't been able to just openly discuss sexual activity, if they feel weird about this, that's gonna make it harder to have that conversation. So that starts with sex education for everybody. So I often am just an advocate of like normalizing just sex education as a part of education whole life, and not just specifically in schools. In schools it would be great, but also just normalizing it when we're talking to the kids that are in our lives. And it doesn't mean that you have to know all of the vocabulary or even like what the kids are talking about these days, but just being a place where kids can come and discuss things knowing that they won't get in trouble, knowing that whatever it is they're concerned about, you will be a safe place to go to and you will always love them. So in an ideal world, we have comprehensive sexuality education lifelong. That would be ideal. I do not have a whole lot of control over that, and there's still a lot of states where sex education doesn't even have to be medically accurate. Legally, it does not. But in the meantime, we still can be the place where kids go. We can give them resources. We can direct them for more learning to websites where they can do their own research and stuff like that. So just like building our own comfortability so that it's okay for anybody to talk about this in a safe place.
Perfect, thank you. Let's switch gears back from the medical to the film and just talk about the making of it itself. So Bonnie, I have to say, it's so endearing to me how Paige's parents interacted, responded, supported her. To me, that's what really made the movie. And I feel that's what really, to me, would appeal to a broader audience. I think that it's brilliant to bring that quick wit and comedic presentation of such a typically taboo topic. So when you and the film's director were talking together before making this, did you strategize on how to appeal to a broader audience, or did it just kind of happen naturally?
Thank you. Yeah, when I started writing it, which was back in about 2017, it started as a television pilot actually, and it was always a comedy. I think, you're talking about this stuff and it's really hard topics that people feel very uncomfortable with, and it's so much easier to bridge that gap with comedy, at least to start the conversation. And, having the parents there, I think the main reason was this could have been, a documentary, and, documentaries are fantastic, but, I felt like if I just sat here and I spat facts facts at you, like, 16%, have this. It's important, but you might not have really gone home with a message. But if I gave you a character to root for and I gave you a family to root for, suddenly you'd be like, oh wait, this person could be my friend, this person could be my daughter. It really like humanizes the issue, which a lot of times when you just read a fact or something, you don't really get that like emotional connection. And so it was always an intentional decision. And in 2021, 2020 it was changed into a feature film, kind of overhauled a bit. And then in 2021, when we started bringing on new people, like we brought on our director, our DP, everyone on set, it was like everybody knew that the intentionality of this was that the focus was the family and the unit, and like really making sure we're bridging that gap of like comedy, tragedy. And like my favorite scenes are the ones that like do it so well with each other. Like there's the scene where she's on the sitz bath and her mom's like shaving her legs. And it's like so tragic, but it's also so funny. And I think that's like real life. And I think that's what gets people to kind of care about it and come to the conversation and say, like this is something I can relate to, or I could totally see me being in this situation. And it just, like humanizing it, I think is really the part that's gonna get people to kind of see this and say, oh, this is a real issue and we need to do something about it.
Talk to Michelle now. Right down there. Hi. So when I'm in the office and I talk to a patient about, say, maybe I think that they have vaginismus, and I say, I think that maybe it'd be a great idea for you to see a pelvic physical therapist, and they get a super nervous, anxious look on their face because they have no idea what that means. So I have a two-part question. Can you just clue us into what an initial consult for pelvic physical therapy is like? And then also, what reasons maybe could a doctor or nurse practitioner send a patient to see you?
Sure. So I usually start with taking a big history, because I want to know what's going on, how long has this person had a problem, what the problem is, what kind of testing they've had before, if they've had imaging, if they've had like a medical diagnosis. Very often people are self-referred and find out about pelvic floor PT from the internet. So sometimes I'm the first person they've ever talked to about this problem, and they've never seen an OBGYN, and I need a baseline to get an assessment of whether I should be sending them out to an OBGYN or if it's a problem that can be handled with pelvic floor PT. So I want to take a nice long history, and that gives us a chance to build some rapport and get an understanding of what the patient already knows about pelvic floor PT. So that's something I always ask someone is, what do you know about this? And if they've ever had physical therapy for anything else before, because it's not totally undifferent than getting your knee treated or getting your shoulder treated. And I think it's important to normalize that this is such a common area where people might need physical therapy, that it's not, there shouldn't be any shame about seeking treatment for a pelvic floor dysfunction issue. So it starts with that, it starts with the history, and then we do a general like musculoskeletal exam. I look at someone's posture, I look at their flexibility, I see how they move. I start everything externally, like major body parts. I want to look at someone's hip strength, I want to look at how they stand, and then I'll tell them, well, the bonus part of this is that it's different than getting your knee treated, is we do an internal pelvic exam, if they're okay with doing that. Oftentimes they're not the first time they meet me, but we can always build up to that later if that's appropriate. But the big difference is, yes, I will do a gloved hand digital exam. I usually don't use a speculum or any kind of stirrups or anything like that. And it's important to know that these people are often in pain that come to see me, that I will go slow and that they're in control of the exam and they can stop at any point. And what I'm looking for is any pain area sensitivity. I want to know the tone of their pelvic floor muscles. I want to know how they move, how they breathe, if they can do a pelvic floor contraction, also known as a Kegel, and how they function overall, and then we can start to address any issues that they have.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, and the second part of your question, yes. Why people come to see me. Pain, as beautifully shown in this movie, but also any kind of incontinence or constipation or recovery after childbirth or pregnancy to prepare for labor and delivery are probably the biggest reasons someone will come to see a pelvic floor PT.
Thank you. You are absolutely invaluable as part of like the medical community for this. Thank you. So let's go a little further along the path of treatment for conditions like vulvodynia and vaginismus. So this one's for Susan. Could you tell us about all the other treatments besides PT and surgery? What kind of things do you suggest or do for patients?
So I think, Bonnie, as recent as when you went through this, I mean, surgery was really one of the more definitive options, and one of the only options 10 years ago. And so the good news is we're making really huge strides, giant strides in the field of vulvodynia and sexual pain. And so there are, when we talk about the tissue, there are lots of compounds that are actually being tested right now. Dr. Silverstein, we know who he really is, but anyway, he was a real person, but he actually just got a really nice grant from the National Vulvodynia Association. So we're going to be studying a new compound that has anti-inflammatory capabilities for the vestibule. The vestibule, by the way, is a mucous membrane, not unlike the membrane in your mouth or in your nose. And so this compound is specifically to take inflammation out of the mucous membrane. And there's also medications that people take for pain orally that we can compound and place on the painful vestibule, and it really helps them quite a bit. In terms of physical therapy, I'm sure you know this, we provide and prescribe muscle relaxants for patients that they can place in the vagina or in the rectum or in their mouth if they wanted to take a medicine to help to relax that muscle and actually tolerate PT even better to do that. And then the other really cool thing is that, yes, we can do Botox, not to make the vulva look better and less wrinkled, but actually to help to relax the pelvic floor muscles, to allow for comfortable physical therapy, and then to allow for comfortable dilator use and comfortable sexual play if that's what their goal is. So good news, lots of options, lots of treatments, and more specialists every year are dedicating their entire practice to vulvodynia and sexual pain. So that's good.
Things have changed in a good way.
A lot.
Yeah. I had to first just ask this right after I saw the film. First of all, did it really go down like that? How real is this, right?
Yeah.
And just in general, like what motivated you to share this very personal and intimate story?
So obviously we had some Hollywood magic here. I actually have a sister in real life. I'm not an only child. That was changed just out of the story. It just served a better story if she was an only child. And just like the timelines of it shifted just because like you don't need to watch me for like 6 months watching Game of Thrones on the couch. Like that's just not ideal for a movie. But no, it really happened, you know. I'm very lucky to have the parents that I have. They're in the audience, thank you. But I think the main thing about this is that I wanted to show what like a very positive relationship could be. I think in a lot of movies, especially when we talk about sex or intimacy or anything like that, you see this relationship where the parents are like, oh, gross, disgusting, don't talk to me about that. And I really want to flip the script on it because I feel like it's important to kind of have a role model of like what a really healthy relationship can be in this. And so yeah, you're seeing some scenes that did happen. My mom did shave my legs on the sit back. My dad did hold the belt up on my thighs to try to get the muscles to work. Yeah, there's a lot of it that's true. I did sleep on an air mattress for 3 years, so that's fun. But I think it's just been amazing to be able to see it, and really what inspired it was, you know, back in 2016, when I got this surgery. I mean, I was medically gaslit for like 3 years. I got what you said, like just try drinking a glass of wine. You know, you name the gamut. And finally, when I saw a doctor that is Dr. Silverstein in here, but is actually based on a real person, who diagnosed me and, you know, was the first person to believe me and went through the surgery. It was the most isolating experience because it was so stigmatized. I felt like I couldn't tell anybody about it. I felt like it was like this secretive thing, very taboo. And then I did write a blog post, and I got a lot of people reach out to me after that saying like, wow, this is really like interesting. I think like I'm going through something like this, or like I know somebody going through something like this. And so went back to school at UCLA on my air mattress and started writing it. And for me, it's always been about like visibility and being like, okay, you know, if we don't have any media about this, if we don't put anything out there, any content, then like how are people going to even know about this, and how are we going to start a conversation about it? And so really the goal has always been to be like where we are right now, like new people learning about this, talking about this, and hopefully we have people come up and say that, they're maybe gonna call that pelvic floor PT for the first time. They're gonna like tell their friend about this. And so if, one person can leave here and be like, I've kind of found something or took something away from this, then we've done our job.
Can I ask a question? Bonnie, did you post the blog post voluntarily?
Yes, I posted it voluntarily. Yes.
That leaves me wondering, so thank you.
No, again, Hollywood magic. We had to raise the stakes a bit.
All right, so I'm gonna ask the final question that I have, and I'm gonna ask it to Timmery, but anyone can jump in after her, and then we'll go on and we can get questions from the audience. So, how can people redefine intimacy when penetrative sex isn't possible or it isn't pleasurable?
So this is a very perspective sort of shifting question. It's about what did we come here to do, right? If we're getting together, what is the point of this? And if your entire point is literally my goal is to insert a hard thing and a wet thing, we're gonna have to come up with a different hard thing and a different wet thing if that's not working. But we can also just reimagine what we're here for, because I don't know about y'all, but has anybody ever had a sexual experience that was really positive but you didn't come? Yeah. And have you ever had a sexual experience where you did orgasm but you're like, I don't need to do that again? All right, great. So it seems like that's not the end all be all. And so I think it has to do with the framing around sexuality that we are often raised with, that what counts as sex, what counts as good sex, what is the point of it? And even if your whole goal is to get pregnant, there are other ways to do it, actually. We have the technology. So I very much approaching this from this beginner's mindset of the point of this can be fun. The point of this can be exploration. The point of this can just be very often we find ourselves in sexual situations just following a script, especially if you've been in a relationship for a long time, where it's I know that this will work. I'm gonna press A 3 times, and then I'm gonna toggle up 4 or 5 times, and I know that this will work, and I will get the job done, and then I will feel good about myself, and we will be successful. That will often lead to sexual ruts and to boredom, but it's also just about the idea of what could we do if we just treated this as an opportunity to play? And very often what we're actually craving isn't just getting off, it's the chance to be vulnerable with a person that we feel safe with. And it's an opportunity to have our skin hunger needs met. And it's an opportunity to have undivided attention from the person we care about. And it's we could go for that instead. And we've also shown through people, not only with and without spinal cord injury, that you can orgasm from touch in lots of other places. And so that requires us to just sort of approach this differently with again, I would just say beginner's mindset of just experimenting and trying things out. And what kind of sexual stuff do you want to do for your own pleasure? How would I give you head for my pleasure? Just reframing this whole thing entirely. So I think it has to do with our capitalist, I'm gonna get in there and do this thing, just step back from that and start all over and consider each other to be playing.
Anyone else wants to jump in before we start with some audience stuff?
I think that, ditto, 100%. But I also think that people really benefit from giving examples of how to play.
Yeah.
Because we are scripted from the time we have that secret conversation with our friend in 4th or 6th grade about what happens, with adults and things like that. We begin the scripting so early about what is sexual play, and we call it sex play, but for a lot of times it's sexual scripting. So I think that all of us in healthcare can really help people by explaining what alternatives might look like, and I think that could be another episode in your TV show is things like outer course and playing and just the goal of exchanging pleasure.
Yeah.
Pleasure is a very, very big subject. So. Yeah.
Again, no medical background, just a patient, but I think it was relearning, we're taught that sex is just put penis in vagina, that's all you're taught. Mm-hmm. And it's there's so much more to pleasure and intimacy, and there's so much of a bigger world out there. And I wish like you said, every school taught this, everybody taught this, but I think just starting with it really changed my perspective after surgery when it was like, yeah, there's actually all these other things you can do. It's not just this one thing and that's the goal, and if you can do this, that's done. And like you said, that catalyst, like, I have to finish this goal or else I didn't do it. Like, if I don't hit size 5 violator, what is even the point? And yeah, I think finding that play was like life-changing.
All right, who would like to ask a question?
What's the insurance situation now these days?
I can start. Again, 10 years ago, I will tell you that most people that did this surgery were very skilled physicians, and they did a lot of them, and they charged a certain amount of money to have them done because by many insurance companies it was considered cosmetic, and so not only would they couldn't try to accept insurance because the insurance company wouldn't even pay the doctors. So that's changing, and I would say, at least in Philadelphia, there are many people that do vestibulectomies and they do charge insurance and they get reimbursed. So that picture is changing. However, there are still subspecialists who do, I don't know, hundreds of vestibulectomies, and for that level of expertise, they still are cash reimbursed. So it's half and half.
As far as physical therapy goes, it's mostly covered by insurance. You'll find it's probably 50-50 whether the PTs in this area take insurance or not. I'm one of the ones that still does, but a lot of insurances reimburse very low, so that dictates, unfortunately, which insurances some people take and whatnot.
One more point, and that is that if you, I have taken insurance, and I've also had a practice where I didn't take insurance, and the primary reason for the latter model of not taking insurance is that the insurance companies expect us to crank out a certain number of visits per hour, and to look in someone's eyes and listen to their story that took them every bit of their courage to bring up to you and say, oh, yeah, time's up. We'll see you next week. It's so rude. And so to have an hour with a patient or half an hour is a luxury, and that doesn't always work well with an insurance-based model. So we're still working out the kinks, but I now take insurance, I'm pleased to report.
Anyone else?
First of all, this was great, and congratulations. And what would be your advice to other women, perhaps anyone, who wants to portray their personal story that has to do with healthcare in a way that you think would be really effective and maybe not take 10 years, but what's your advice?
My advice is have money, but God, that's a good question. It's a hard one because I think it depends on what you're dealing with in healthcare, what kind of, what you're comfortable sharing, where you are at your journey. I don't think this film would have, I don't think I should have made this film at 22. I am so happy that it did actually end up taking so many years to get made, because I feel like the rewrites and the perspectives, you can tell this is from the perspective of someone who's 26 versus the perspective of someone who was 21 when I first kind of started writing it. And I think a little bit more mature, understanding of the world a little bit more, but it was the most cathartic thing ever. And I think surrounding yourself with a team, getting people involved, making it, a team event, because at the end of the day, making a film isn't a solo job. You're gonna have millions of people putting their little touch on it, even in post-production sound, all the way down. And so I think making sure that you're open as well to being okay, well maybe that's not exactly how it happened, but kind of letting go a little too. And then for me too, mental health is a huge thing. I actually took therapy sessions while on set. I would sneak off, and I think my therapist at the time was very concerned because we shot in a sex dungeon, so I'd be in a room with the crosses and stuff behind me, just taking a session. She's where are you? And I'm don't worry about it, I'm good. And but I think at the end of the day, it was the most cathartic thing I could have ever done, and for me writing has always been cathartic. So and it's kind of the journey that she's going through there, I'm just gonna make it because I want to make it, was kind of something I had to come to terms with. And until that kind of part of the script was in there, I don't think I would have been able to really do it the way I did it. And it's all thanks to my support system, all the cast, crew, everybody that was here. But I think I say go for it, because you'll start to realize if you're vulnerable, everybody around you will start to become vulnerable as well and open up. And so I found that even on set, you know, we're having people that are like, I've never touched a lube before. I don't know what a dilator is. Can you explain this to me? And I kind of found that like as the days went on, by like day 20, I mean like people are so open, people are asking questions, people are being vulnerable, they're telling me about their conditions or, you know, things they've struggled with, and it just becomes such a better environment. So like putting that art out there, whatever it is, there's no reason not to.
Thank you. Anybody else?
So I've heard from like friends and you know online and stuff about the lack of pain relief during things like IUD insertion or like colposcopies or things like that. Why? And I've seen like you know such a small percentage do have that option to have a pain relief method during these procedures. What is the like? I know, like, you mentioned, like, things are always getting better and progressing. What is the, how do I put this, like, outlook, yes, on being able to provide people pain relief, adequate pain relief during these procedures and not just saying, like, oh, take an ibuprofen and, like, deep breathe, you know, that kind of, so.
I'm gonna ask our moderator to comment on that.
Somehow I'm gonna get roped into this. So, yeah, it's a tough topic because women do truly have a lot of pain with these procedures. Probably putting in IUDs and doing, say, endometrial biopsies are probably two of the most painful things that I have to do in the office. And, you know, over 20 years, it really pretty much from the start was similar to that, was, you know, just prepare them. This is gonna feel really crampy. It's gonna only last 10 seconds. It's gonna be over quick. But American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology, I think within the last couple of years, has put out a pretty long, extensive table of all the options. Of how we can provide pain relief to patients. And I just am hoping more and more of us are looking at that and taking it more seriously, and also patients speak up for themselves and say, you know, tell us how you feel about it. Some of the hard things that I have to say and explain to patients is injecting your cervix with lidocaine hurts more than the procedure itself. And topical anesthesia doesn't do a whole lot. Outside of putting you under IV anesthesia, you're probably going to feel a lot of cramping.
When it comes to patients with vulvodynia and vaginismus, patients can be empowered by having them insert their own speculum. You know, in the office, like often, or they hold my wrist. Well, I'm putting in the speculum, but they're holding my wrist, so they're in control. So part of it, I think, it's so fearful in any medical procedure to feel like you're out of control. And that was so well shown in the film. When she's going under anesthesia, she's like, wait, I forgot my wallet. Like, that feeling of being out of control. And so I think any time, and for patients, for all of us as patients, because we're patients one way or another in this lifetime, to just use your voice and say, I would like to know what my options are, and I'm not comfortable with this, and I'd like to try something different.
Just as a person who has had many IUDs, I just would also say that, okay, so there are bad cab drivers, there are bad lawyers, etc. So you don't always have to just accept the first professional you come across. I've had really negative experiences with OBGYN stuff, and I've had really, really positive ones. And I had to go, yeah, it's gonna be annoying and I'm gonna have to sort through this with my insurance and I'm gonna have to like do some shopping around, but the quality of the experience is so substantively better that it's absolutely worth it. And so if you come across a professional who may be very credentialed but doesn't make you feel heard, there is another one. Mm-hmm. Especially here, we're not in a like a rural area that's super isolated.
I can just say too, like it's called Teal. It was an at-home cervical test, like pap smear that I did for the first time. It was like, they sent it to me, it was about the size of a tampon. You do your own pap smear at home, like in your bed, and send it in. And like, as somebody with like vulvodynia, pelvic floor, the list goes on. Like, it was like such a like amazing, cool experience to know that was like even an option. So I do think like more, and also a frequent IUD person, yeah, there was definitely doctors in the past that I did not like, and like ones that like I was like, actually no, this was like a really great experience. Like I had one too, she like put the what's it called, where I could see my uterus, ultrasound, thank you. She had like an ultrasound going so I could like watch, and it's like a weird control thing for me, but like it was like I did also have a doctor one time like put a camera so like I could see as she was doing the vulva exam, or like a mirror I think you see in there. And sometimes that's just like really, having a visual is so important. But you can ask for that. You can also ask for a child pediatric speculum. You don't have to do the big one. I didn't know that till I was 30.
Anyone else have questions?
Greatly appreciated. I do have probably a very crass, if not almost inappropriate question, but if we could say like vaginas and stuff like that, I could probably. How much did it cost?
Wait, the surgery or the movie?
Well, you mentioned what, $50,000 for the surgery?
Yeah, it was closer to like 10 grand for the surgery. I think like, again, movie magic. We wanted to up those stakes, but
There's a year off work.
there's a year off work.
Right.
There's also, you know, you're talking like, okay, I'm looking in Philly to travel to New York, but like at the time when I was really going to those appointments, it was from Alabama. So you're talking about driving to Atlanta, paying for parking, taking a flight to LaGuardia. It's like old crappy LaGuardia. So you're like taking 2 buses and a train over to like the doctor's appointment, taking a bus to Philly, doing the whole thing backwards, going back and being a full-time student, and then like that costs a lot of money. And then like also with the surgery, you know, we like went to New York. You're going to all these doctor's appointments. Those aren't cheap. So I think like over time it ends up being about 50,000. You know, but just the surgery part was around like 10 grand, and I think depending on where you go, it could be more, it could be less. But I'm getting a second one, and it's being covered by insurance. So.
And how much was the film itself?
Oh God. No, it's okay. It was about 50 grand to make. We had a lot of, at the time, I worked for a company called Light Iron, RIP, no longer exists. But we were owned by Panavision, and so we got a Panavision camera package. So we got all of our camera gear for free because while we were filming this, I was also working full-time as a post-producer for Light Iron under Panavision so we could get the free camera package. So I would work New York hours, like I'd wake up at 4 a.m., do my New York job, go to set, be the on-set producer for like 18 hours. We were so low budget, I was driving the truck every day with like the film equipment and like parallel parking it in LA every day. I was the locations manager, the prop master, music supervisor, VFX supervisor. I made the VFX at one point. But we caught in every favor. Like we shot in a lot of locations that were super nice to us. Like we shot in a BDSM like play dungeon because they had a medical playroom and they were super sweet and they let us like use it. And we shot actually, my dad sells plumbing, and they had an office in LA that they were like, it's abandoned because of COVID. There's 2 people that work on this floor. Just go in and play. And we're like, so like what you don't see is the other side of the shot, which is just like toilet seat walls. So yeah, we got creative. And then I'd say like post-production, then the prices started to increase. Film festivals, you know, you're talking like, I have to pay to enter all those film festivals. Then if we get in, then it's like traveling to those. You're talking about a week at a hotel, traveling, you know, paying airfare, all the marketing, you know, the bracelets you see, those are handmade. All the menstruation stations, we would do at every festival. And, you know, that was just, I don't know. And if anyone wants to pay off my credit card debt, it's up for grabs.
Okay, last question.
Was this part of the whole, like, you know, over the top being a movie? But it seemed like they did the surgery and then they sent you out and you were still under anesthesia practically. That was a movie thing?
No.
Oh no.
I don't remember it really. We did the surgery. We did this. We can say it. Oh yeah, you want to come up here? You want to tell? No, you want to tell?
Basically, we did surgery in New York, and they said, just get a hotel room because you're probably going to stay for a week. And we're like, oh my God, more expensive stuff. So we went and got all this food. We made sure we had a room with a refrigerator, and we're thinking, oh, all right, just something else to do. And then when we got out of surgery, he said, you know what? Why don't you just get her in the car? I think she's drugged up enough. Put the seat down. Meanwhile, the surgic center is on Wall Street. He, of course, with his parking, double parking, you're handicapped, that's all true. He's really around. I have her in a wheelchair, and we're getting her out, and we're trying to navigate New York. It was like 4 o'clock, hard time in Manhattan. And he pulls over, we're trying to get her in. No one's helping us. She's like, oh my God, and she's like still doped up. We finally got her to a driveway and medicine wore off. And I'm like, oh my God. So we're trying, and she can't swallow pills, so we're trying really hard to get it in her. We're running in the house, getting applesauce. I mean, this is the stuff that we laugh at now, but back then, and he did have to like get her up the steps, shuffling, and I was putting pee pads down, and yeah, it was a riot back, but it wasn't funny then. And we did get the money back from the hotel.
So, thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Timmery, and especially thank you, Bonnie, for putting this out here and being here with us.
Thank you. I know there's the raffle, but I also want to say we're also playing at Bryn Mawr Theater on Saturday, March 28th at 1 p.m. Tickets are on sale. Please tell all your friends to come. Please come support us. Again, this is an indie micro-budget film, so like, we really get by because you guys show up and the fans show up. I'm not getting like, what? Oh yeah, the merchandise is up front. If you would like some vulva earrings or a vulva whistle. But also, you know, it's really helpful, like follow us on Instagram, you know, give us a review on Letterboxd, give us a review on Rotten Tomatoes, we just got on there. Like really like give us, it really helps kind of push us and like helps people see the film that we know like is so important for people to see. And you know, stay tuned, maybe some exciting updates coming up soon that I can't announce yet, but hopefully coming soon. Oh God. Let me get this other surgery first and then we'll talk about it after. But yeah, when you came in, you should have gotten a friendship bracelet. One of those will be a winner right now it's called the Kiwi. If you don't know what the Kiwi is, it's by this amazing company called the Pelvic People. Thank you. Yes. It is specifically designed for people who have entry pain, like myself. So it has shallow depth and can just be used by anyone for pleasure. So, who has the bracelet that says, "Read my lips"? You have